Hey everyone, I'm Andy, and welcome to my guide to Maya for beginners. So this will basically just cover modeling, rigging, animation, texturing, rendering, whatever you want to do. This will cover the basics. So today we're looking at 3D modeling a coffee mug and rendering it out. So open up Maya, and I use Maya 2018. You can use Maya 2017, 2019, it doesn't matter. Each one will have a bit different of an interface, but they all have relatively the same tools. So once you have it open, it'll probably look like this, where you can see the grid. So you might want to tumble around it, which is another way for saying look around by holding Option, left clicking, and holding. You can look around the whole scene. You can zoom in or out with 2 fingers on a trackpad or by middle mouse scrolling. Alright. Now let's look into just creating a scene. So go up to File, Project Window, select New, and rename it. So I'm going to name mine Coffee Mug. You want to use an underscore when you want to put a space, because mine does not like spaces. It also does not like hyphens. So use underscores to replace spaces, I guess. And then select this little folder thing, go up to Desktop, wherever you want it to go. So you're just selecting the directory. So it's like these are all my folders for past projects. You might have something like that, or you might just have it randomly on your desktop. Whatever you want. Then push select, push accept. It already exists. Alright. Go to File, Set Project, select your project you just made, push Set, and then now push Command S, which will bring you to a screen like this. And then rename it, so modeling 01 or whatever you want to rename it. So I named my first one mug modeling 01. Alright, so now you have the scene all set up. Everything will be perfect, so whenever you render scenes out, it'll show up in your images folder inside that project file. It'll make more sense later on. Just want to let you know that that's why you set project. So every time you load up a new file, yeah, set project. So even if you open up a past project, you gotta make sure you have the right project selected. So that way Maya knows where to render. Anyways, let's get started on modeling. So now we want to select our first object. So up here you have menus and shelves. The modeling is a menu. So if you click on modeling, it'll show you all the other menus: rigging, animation, FX, rendering, and then all these are shelves. So now locate the poly modeling shelf, and let's just create a cube by just clicking on it, and then it'll create a cube. So now you can do whatever you want with this cube. Push R, you can scale it. You can also see the tools on the left. So this is a scale tool, rotate, move, select. You can scale it whatever direction you want. So the red always represents X, the blue always represents Z, and the green always represents Y. So you can move any of those around as you want by just clicking and holding on those little arrows. Pull them out. There we go. You can also move it by pushing W and moving it, or selecting the tool right here. You can frame it up by pushing F, so now it's perfectly framed inside the center of the frame. And you can rotate it with E, and then click and drag on any of these one axes or just in the middle to rotate all the axes. And then if you want to get back to 0, just select all of these guys and type in 0. This is the channel box, by the way. If you don't have it up, just go to Windows, General Editors, Channel Box, and then drag this to the right side. That way you have it, and it's super easy to get to and access. Okay, so now let's delete that, and let's start modeling our mug. So push spacebar, go to the right view, go to View, Image Plane, Import Image, and now we're going to load in our reference image. This will be in the description below if you want to follow along. There we go. So now you can see there's this image here, and then in the middle of our scene. So let's move it back just a little bit so that way it's not in our way. There we go. And does not change how it appears in this view. Alright, so now let's create our first cylinder by clicking on cylinder, and let's reduce the amount of subdivisions it has to 10. So the subdivisions is just the amount of edges it has. So if I do like 40, you can see it's a lot smoother, but it's a lot harder to change because you have to select a lot more, move it around. Whereas if you just have, say, 10, all I do is select 1. It's a lot easier to change. Alright, so now go to your right view, scale it up by pushing R, grabbing that center one, scale it up. So now I don't want to scale it any more up, I just want to scale it out. So one way I can do it from just this view is push R, hold Control, and then grab this Y handle, the up handle, and pull it up. So I'm holding Control, pulling this up, and now it's just scaling it out. It's not scaling it up. There we go. So now you want to right click, go to Vertex. That'll let you select all the vertices. So now select all the bottom vertices, push R, scale it in, and lift it up as well. Scale this one out, get roughly the shape of the mug. Alright, right click, go to face. Now select all these bottom faces, including these bottom ones at the very bottom that you don't see right now. And then hold Control, which is deselect, and deselect these. So if you want to select something new at least, you hold Shift, you can select new things, and you can also deselect things with Shift. If you hold Control, it deselects. If you hold Shift and Control at the same time, it's only select. So, select, Shift and Control, deselect, Control, select or deselect with Shift. Hopefully that's pretty easy to understand. It gets easier as you get used to playing with them. Alright, so now you should have just these bottom faces selected. Scale it down. Well, not scale it. Sorry. So now you should have just the bottom faces selected. So now what I want to do is go to the poly modeling shelf and grab this little extrude tool. Click on it, push W, drag it down. So now you have created a new face. Now you want to scale that in just a little bit, so that way you're matching the shape of the mug. There we go. So now let's do the same thing for the top. So select all the top faces, deselect the middle faces, and then push extrude, W, pull it up, scale it out. Now if you want to repeat a previous command, it's like I just now extruded, so if I wanted to extrude again, I can push G, and that'll repeat my last command. There we go. So now I'll push spacebar, go up to Maya, perspective, push G again. Oh, didn't work that time. Extrude. Now I'm just pulling in on the X and Z axes by pulling this little square. You can see I'm just pulling in the Z and the X axes by pulling this little square in. Now push G. Then pull this guy down. Then scale it in just a little bit. Scale it down. Now run into an issue where we can't see the bottom of the mug. So we can't see how far down we need to put this. So one way to solve that is just to push 4. And that'll take us to our wireframe view. So now you can see everything the model has, all the faces, all the edges, just from this one view. Push 5 to get out of it. So that looks about good. Alright, so now we have a rough shape. It looks a little jagged, so now let's smooth this down just a little bit. Push 3, and that'll smooth it down. It's only a preview though, it changes nothing about the shape overall. If you push 1, it'll take you back. So it's just a preview. It looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. So now, go to Mesh Tools, Insert Edge Loop, click on that little square box right there. It'll bring you up to the tool settings, click on multiple edge loops, and go down to 1. That'll create 1 edge loop. Make sure your smooth display is off, and then click in the center. There we go. Now it creates an edge all the way around. So if you push Q, which is your select tool by the way, and double click on this edge, it'll select all the edges around. So now, go to the right view, and scale it up just a little bit. There we go. Now smooth it down. There we go. On my right click, go to Vertex. Scale this up just a little bit. There we go. That's a lot better. So now, go up to Create. Yep. Go up to Create. Curve Tools. Select your EP Curve tool. And then open Tool Settings. If you don't want to do that, if it's not right here for you, just go to Windows, General Editors, Tool Settings. So open up your tool settings. Make sure it's on cubic. We're good. Alright, now click and follow the shape of the handle. So click again. There we go, snake. Now I'm starting to make my curve. So click one more time. Keep going. Following the curve. Alright, now we gotta right click, go to Control Vertex, select one of the vertices, and move it around. So that way we can start actually following the shape of the handle. There we go. So once you have a shape you're pretty happy with, you can move on. So go up here, create one more cylinder, pull it out, then rotate it 90 degrees there. Alright, now we're going to select all these faces. Actually, let's move this down to 10 subdivisions as well. Then select the face, delete all of those in the back, select that one, go to Modify, Center Pivot. So now the center of the pivot is actually the center of this object, this little disc. Move it down so it's roughly at the beginning of the curve, and scale it in just a little bit. You want to make sure it's about the size of the thickness of the handle. So let's see. I'll do about there. Yeah. Alright. So now select the faces, then shift select the curve, and then push extrude. If this happens, it's because your curve is facing the wrong direction. Depending on how you made the curve, if you made it from the bottom to the top, you probably won't have this problem. But if you made it from the top to the bottom, the curve is actually facing this direction. So it's starting here and ending here. So if you like have a disc and extrude it, it's going to go up here and then come back down here, because this is actually where it's supposed to end. But it can't end there because that's where a disc is. So what you actually want to do is you actually want to reverse the direction of the curve. So select the curve, go to Curves, reverse direction. Then select your disc again, do the same thing. Select your face, shift select the curve, extrude, and now they're almost fixed. You probably want to have, let's do 18. There we go. So now you have a handle. You can move it in just a little bit so that way it's not floating. And then let's push 3 on it, get the smooth display. There we go. It's a pretty good handle. So the last thing you want to do is delete the history. So the history is all this stuff. It's messy and it can affect your geometry going forward. So you just want to go to edit, delete by type, history. Same thing with your handle. And yeah, so you can just shift select both of them actually. And go to modify, freeze transformations. So that'll get rid of these translates and the rotates and the scales. Set them back to 0 and 1. Now select your handle, shift select the mug, push P. So now you parented the handle to the mug. So if you select the mug, it'll select the handle as well. And if you rotate the mug, it'll rotate the handle as well, just to make it all act like an actual mug. And you can also rename this mug geo, handle geo. There we go. And if you want to, you can delete your curve and your image plane by command selecting them in the outliner. The outliner is located under Windows Outliner. And one more thing you can do to make it look a little better is turn on anti-aliasing and ambient occlusion. That'll give it extra shadows and extra display on the edges, so that way it's not so rough. Scale that down just a little bit. There we go. Alright, so now you've created your first object. In the next phase, we'll get to texturing it, and then rigging, followed by lighting, and then rendering. So I hope you enjoyed. Please keep following along if you enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next time.